Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be with Kyle Kamrooz, CEO and founder of Bonus Homes. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
Our pleasure. So let's go back in time just a little bit. How did you get started?
My background's been in real estate. I started in the late 90s, helping my father actually start a mortgage company, a small family-owned kind of mortgage business. I did that while I was in undergrad. So I tried to juggle both of them, got into the world of finance pretty quickly, and then basically just started building during the 2000s, different mortgage companies, and became a lender nationwide, managed a lot of people at a young age, was fortunate enough, and then just got to kind of learn the ropes around what makes a mortgage, housing, real estate, all these things that are just so, confusing, stressful, intimidating, kind of just got into the weeds of all of that minutia. So that's kind of how I just started. And then I ended up, getting into technology, started to learn how to code, and wanted to actually make the mortgage process better, because after years of being in it, it was so manual and archaic and lots of paper and all this stuff. And I was like, well, technology is evolving. And so built a software company after that in the same industry to kind of help the industry that I was, grew up in.
That makes a lot of sense. Your father's experience during the financial crisis probably helped shape your mission. Can you talk a little bit about that moment and then kind of how it influenced your philosophy?
Yeah. And so what's interesting is I was in the thralls of housing, right? Next to healthcare, housing is literally the largest, in and of itself, the largest, one, transaction for everyday individuals, but two, it's also a huge part of our GDP. I mean, it almost brought the world down in 2008, as we saw. So it's a huge piece of it, and it's very, very, very complicated. You've got, the GSEs, and you got just all kinds of stuff. So anyways, one of the things with just learning all of that and getting into the minutia really helped kind of frame where I started Bonus, which is my latest venture. And it really started with the financial crisis, where after my father, who was in real estate, I was basically had to sell his property just to move, right? Which is what we typically do in life, which is family, job, or just because we want to, right? The days of the Ozzie and Harriets of the world, right? In the 50s and 60s, where you stay in your house, you work one job, you're at the company for a long period of time, you get a 30-year fixed mortgage, and you pay that sucker off. That's not reality today. Not, and especially after COVID. Everyone wants to move. The average person moves every 3 to 5 years. So the problem was my father had to sell his property. The house was worth about $580,000. He needed the equity out. And him and I, being in real estate for so long, we're like, this is insane. There's no other solution other than getting rid of your most valuable asset, which is your home, that inevitably is going to be worth a lot more in the future, okay? And you have to sell it. Why? Because you need to move. Well, why? Well, because you need your equity out. And so we're just like, this is just the dumbest thing. It's like, you got to have options. And really, that started the thought process around, this was 2010, 2011. By the way, that house is now 1.3 million. My father missed out on $500,000 of equity that he would love to have at the age of good old age of 73 years old, right? So, anyways, that's kind of how it stemmed. Our background in real estate, and then just my just understanding that, and then fast forward to today. Why did it take me 10 years to kind of build it? One, I built another company, but two, with COVID, low interest rates. So you got all these, 80 million people or 50 million people that have a rate below 4% that are locked into their houses with this incredibly low cost of capital. And just the evolution of what we do is called the shared appreciation model, where, you in essence sharing the upside together. All these pieces and trends kind of came together to kind of create Bonus. And that's why we started putting this instrument together, which I will say, it's basically a new instrument called a home appreciation partnership, a HAP. And so, anyways, long-winded way of basically saying how it started.
Awesome. So what does Bonus Homes do, and why are you so different?
So here's the biggest thing. It solves two problems. One, it solves an alternative to selling your home. Number two, it allows you to benefit from getting all your equity out, which is what mostly people do today when they want to move. They want to take the $100,000, $50,000, $200,000, put it towards a new house, pay off debt, whatever. But it doesn't make them give up what the future value of this asset will be. And so in essence, what Bonus does is we take your home. So Seth, you have a home. Let's say your house is worth $400,000 in, Phoenix, Arizona. $400,000. You have a $300,000 mortgage at 3% gold, right? That's that low cost of capital. You have $100,000 of equity. We'll cash out your $100,000 of equity. Okay. You don't need to list the home. You don't need to find a buyer. You get your equity out. Okay. $100,000, and you move on with life. There's no interest rate. There's no payment tied to it. Bonus then takes this property that you still own, Seth. You haven't sold it. We turn it into an investment property. Now you're a multi-asset owner, assuming you're going to go buy a new property. And now Bonus is managing this asset 100% outright. We cover everything, all the expenses, the maintenance, the tenant. You're basically a passive investor. Bonus covers everything, takes all responsibility. And then what do? We allow time to allow that asset to fully appreciate. And now, after 5 years, up to 30 years, you can sell that home when the house is now worth $600,000, $700,000, and you're going to get a third of all of that appreciation as a second payout, right? And so, in summary, we're delaying the sale to maximize the value, knowing that that asset, if you were to sell it today, is going to be worth much more in the future. If that makes sense.
It does. And do I have to take the 100K in equity out, or can I, if I don't need it, can I just leave it in the house and move?
Well, that's a great question. We want you to take it out because that's our skin in the game, right? In essence, because we're now, in essence, it's called a home appreciation partnership. We're giving you $100,000 to basically show, hey, we're in this together, Seth. You and I are in this together. We just gave you $100,000 and there's no interest rate, there's no payment. And the only way we're getting that back, it could be 10, 15 years from now. And so now we're aligned interests on the future maximization of the value, right? In essence. So if I didn't give you that equity, could you technically do it? You can, but most people want to be able to liquidate their equity and just go live their life. And then also let the wealth engine do its work.
All right, so this is fascinating. So I'm going to say us as an example. Let's say we've got your 400K house would sell for 400. We've got a 200 mortgage. There's 200K in equity. Now, historically, when we were looking at our third house, we couldn't do it because my wife said, I don't want to deal with open houses, blah, blah, blah. I wish we could just move and sell list our house once it's empty. And the problem is, while on cash, I can cover 2 mortgages for months if I needed to. Because of loan to value, all that crap, the bank won't allow you to carry, in my case, wouldn't allow us to carry 2 mortgages at once. I'm like, what if I pay off my first mortgage and there's literally no mortgage on the house? And they were like, still doesn't matter because you got utility bills and taxes and whatever. I'm like, okay, that's
because you're quote unquote debt to income ratio or whatever.
Right. So you're telling me, okay, so if I take my 200K equity, you give me my 200K in equity, I then use that as a down payment on my next house. I then move. you're now becoming basically the property manager for my old house. We're
That's
not
right.
selling it, but you're now listing it as a rental property.
That's right.
You're dealing with the tenants. Am I making any money every month off of like the difference between what they pay in rent versus the mortgage?
No, because you got your equity payout. You basically got what you would have done if you sold it, and then we're using that rental income to basically pay all your expenses, and that's how bonus kind of continues this journey. And just to add to this too, you can qualify for the new mortgage. About 50% of our homeowners today go get a new home, whether it's a new build from Lennar, one of the builders, and you can offset your principal interest tax payment on your other home with what we're doing and turning it in as a rental. So there's a big misnomer that, well, I can't buy a new house and I can't keep this house, right? And you can't if your income doesn't allow you to to carry both. But there's a way in the guidelines, as long as you've lived in the property as a primary residence for over a year, you can do whatever you want with the property. You can turn it into an Airbnb, a second home, whatever you want to do, right? So we do that today and then turn this home into a rental where now you qualify for the new mortgage and you move on your way. There's no, oh, well, what if I want to buy a new home? You can still do it.
So then when the time, let's say 5 years, 10 years, or 6 months or whatever, when that home sells, when I say, okay, I now get to say when that home sells, or do you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your home. You still are on title.
Okay. So I own the house. I get my equity. I go buy my new house. I'm happy. You guys put a tenant in this one, manage it, make the money on managing the property. And then when that house sells one day, if I get the trade-off is I don't get 100% of the equity appreciation. I'm giving you guys 2/3 of any future equity appreciation from when I originally did the deal. Is that right?
That is correct. And the reason is because I already cashed out your equity today.
Right.
Right. So in essence, what bonus is creating for you, right, Seth, is a new sale opportunity at a much higher value that you otherwise wouldn't have had you sold the house today.
Okay. So that's really creative and I love it because it solves a whole bunch of problems. So, how has this been received by the marketplace? Are you?
Yeah, it's been great, right? I think there's a couple things as you build anything new, right? I mean, in my last company, I built something where people were now going on their mobile phones and doing things like taking an application and uploading documents and all this kind of stuff. People are like, well, I don't want to do this. Is it safe, secure? You hear that stuff, right? Just like remember when Uber came out and it's like, I'm never getting into a car with a random stranger. Right. And then now we throw our kids in there because we know they're safe, right? As an example. So as with anything new, there's a learning curve and there's an education. So that's kind of where we're at, where we're trying to create awareness. What we want to do is obviously say what we're not and what we are. And so being able to have conversations like this to go through the details, once people really understand the details, because it is a different approach. Because our mindset that we've been indoctrinated was, if I want to move, what do? Sell. So we're trying to say there's an alternative to it, and it just takes time. It's been extremely well received. We work with a lot of agents, and I'll say this, real estate agents, whether they have a listing with the client, and we also work directly with the consumer. We actually have agents bonusing their own home, if that tells you anything, right? And so, look, this has been a passion of mine, and this has been a passion mainly because of my father, because I see when my father today, that $300,000-400,000 can have meant a monumental thing for him. And I just see so many people, right? And we've seen this before. The rich over the past decade have gotten richer. Everyone else is unfortunately hasn't, the gap's gotten wider. And so, rich people can afford to hold on to this property, right? And people can, they've got disposable cash. But everyday homeowners who want to build wealth don't have a mechanism for it. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just give that opportunity.
That is awesome. I love the creativity. How does it work? Are you in all 50 states?
No, right now, yeah. So basically we are launched. So if you go to bonushomes.com, we're launched our main market is in Phoenix. And we just did a huge announcement because we raised quite a bit of capital. We did a big announcement where we moved our headquarters to Phoenix last 2 weeks ago. We're in Phoenix, we're in Nashville, Memphis, we're in Tennessee. We're in Ohio, North Carolina, and those are the main markets, and Colorado Springs. We actually love Colorado Springs. So we're in a lot of the markets right now. Sorry, that was big thunder there. We're in a lot of the markets right now where we're starting to see home price appreciation, where we think in the next 5 to 10, 15 years will go. And we're going to be expanding to more markets as we go.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. Are you allowed to disclose, like, if you just, can you talk about the announcement of the capital raise and like how many homes have gone through this process?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see we basically raised as a seed round, we raised about 65 million in capital, which is probably one of the larger seed rounds. That's non-AI specific over the past 12 to 24 months, right? We've seen some pretty amazing numbers there in the real estate space. So we raised quite a bit of capital with some great investors. And we literally, I would say, came out of stealth about 30 days ago. We started doing houses last year under the radar, just to start, learning how to do things, right? And we've already got about 20 to 25 million assets under management. We haven't done any marketing yet. We're just starting to do that. So we're getting going. And our goal and vision is 10,000 homes over the next decade. If we can help 10,000 Seths of the world to get an extra $100,000 to $200,000 of new wealth, not just the money you got today, but new wealth that you never would have got. That's an extra couple $2 billion that we want to give back to the communities and to these people. That's our vision. That's our mission. That's our why.
That is absolutely awesome. For our folks watching and listening who want to learn more about this, where is the best place for them to go?
Yeah, just go bonushomes.com. And then we have a great FAQ section that should go into all the details about how it works, and feel free to reach out.
All right. This has been Seth Greene with Kyle Kamrooz from bonushomes.com. Kyle, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.